I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. My wife and I had been married for 2 years, though we'd been together for a total of 5. Marriage was more her dream than mine, but I went along with it because I loved her and wanted to make her happy. I'm 38, she's 33, and about a year ago, she decided it was time to start a family. I was not as eager, but I agreed because I wanted to support her dreams. Trying to have a baby turned out to be much harder than I expected. Month after month, nothing happened, and the strain started to weigh on both of us. She grew distant and sometimes even mean, which was tough to deal with. It got so bad that I decided to get checked out to see if the problem was with me. The results of that test changed everything. The doctor told me I was sterile. It hit me like a truck. I had not even been the one pushing for a baby, but somehow, I had started to imagine myself as a dad. That vision came crashing down in an instant. I was devastated and at a loss for how to tell my wife. I had seen how upset she was already, and I could not bear to think how she would react if she knew it was me preventing her dream from coming true. While I was still trying to process everything, she sat me down one evening and told me she had big news. My heart sank. I thought she had somehow discovered my secret. But no, she was smiling from ear to ear, practically glowing. She was pregnant. I felt the world spin as she shared the news. I was dumbfounded, unable to process how this could be. But I forced myself to smile and join her celebration because I needed to figure out what was really going on. The very next day, I went back to the doctor for another test. The results were the same. I was sterile. There was no avoiding the truth. If my wife was pregnant, it was not my child. I was crushed. My mind raced with possibilities, but one thing was clear: she had been unfaithful. I knew she could not have gone through artificial means to conceive without my knowledge. I handled all the finances, and a procedure like that would have required money she did not have. The thought of her betrayal was almost too much to bear. For a few days, I did nothing. I went along with her plans for a pregnancy announcement party, plastering on a smile while feeling completely hollow inside. I could not confront her yet. I needed to know the full story before making any moves. The day of the party arrived, and our home was filled with family, friends, and even a few neighbors. Among the guests was the young man who lived across the street, a 27-year-old model trying to make a name for himself. He had moved in with his aunt to be closer to the city, and my wife had taken quite a liking to him. She had cooked for him and his aunt when they first moved in and often struck up conversations with him about literature, their shared passion. He was charming, good-looking, and well-spoken, the kind of guy people naturally gravitate toward. I had always thought of him as a polite young neighbor, nothing more. But as I watched him interact with my wife at the party, things started to click into place. The way they laughed together, the little glances they exchanged, it was like they were sharing a secret. My stomach turned as I began to piece together the truth. I had nothing against the guy. He seemed nice enough, polite, and friendly. My wife and I had even invited him over for dinner a few times. But on the day of the party, something shifted. The second he walked through the door, my wife's face lit up in a way I had never seen before. She headed straight for him, ignoring everyone else, and they hugged, a long, close hug. It was longer than any hug she had given me in years, let alone anyone else at the party. Most people were too busy chatting or laughing to notice, but I saw it. That moment planted a seed of certainty in my mind. Something was going on between them. I just needed proof. Excusing myself to use the bathroom, I instead slipped into our bedroom. My goal was to check her laptop. I had already managed to glance at her phone a few nights earlier while she was asleep, but I came up empty. Her phone was clean, too clean. It only made me more suspicious. Her laptop, however, was always in use when I was around. She claimed she was working on a novel, always turning the screen away from me whenever I got too close. Back then, I believed her. Now, I knew better. The laptop had no password, so I got in easily. After a little digging, I found what I was looking for: another email account. It was one I had never seen before. Switching over to it, I began scrolling through the inbox. What I found confirmed my worst fears. Email after email revealed an ongoing affair between my wife and our neighbor. It was all there, confessions of love, romantic plans, and messages back and forth. He was even using his real name, leaving no room for doubt. One of the emails made my stomach turn. In it, my wife announced her pregnancy to him. But instead of being thrilled, he was furious. His responses showed that he had tried to cut things off with her, likely realizing how messy their situation was. There was a gap in their communication after that weeks of silence. But she had not let it end there. As I scrolled further, I found the email that sealed it for me. My wife told him she had consulted a lawyer friend who had agreed to help her file for divorce after the baby was born. She admitted that she had pushed me into trying for a baby so she could secure alimony and child support once she left me. That money would allow her to live her dream life with her boyfriend. I felt sick to my stomach. The betrayal was one thing, but the level of manipulation and planning was staggering. She had used our marriage, to bankroll her fantasy life with her struggling model boyfriend. It was the kind of betrayal that left a person questioning everything. I took a deep breath, grabbed my phone, and started snapping pictures of the emails. Every detail was captured, her plans, her messages, his responses. Then I carefully closed the laptop and put it back exactly how I found it. My heart pounded in my chest, but I kept my composure. I was not just angry. I was disgusted. The betrayal went beyond cheating, it was calculated, deliberate, and cruel. And yet, as I sat there thinking about everything, a strange calm washed over me. I knew what I had to do. If she wanted to play games, I would play along. But I was going to make sure she felt every ounce of the pain and betrayal I had felt when I discovered her lies. I was not going to let her off easily. For the next 9 months, I became the picture of a perfect husband. I attended every doctor's appointment, helped her with her diet, and made sure she felt supported. I poured every ounce of my energy into maintaining the facade. She had no idea that I knew the truth. But I was counting down the days. Finally, just a few days ago, the moment arrived, she went into labor. I was on edge the entire drive to the hospital, but I kept it together. It was a surreal moment. Here I was, taking my wife to give birth, fully aware that the child was not mine. My nerves were rattled, but I played my part like nothing was wrong. I had already called her parents to let them know we were on our way to the hospital, but I decided not to inform mine. I wanted to avoid unnecessary drama, especially since things were bound to get messy soon. Her parents were at least an hour away, so for a while, it was just the two of us. That is when I decided to lay all my cards on the table. Once she was settled in the room, I calmly told her I needed to step out to make a call. She looked curious, so I added that I was planning to invite our neighbor to the hospital. After all, he deserved to be there for this big moment. Her face went pale. She stammered something about how she did not feel comfortable with a stranger in the room while she was giving birth. Her voice wavered, but I kept my cool. That is when I pulled out the results of my fertility test and handed them to her, along with the divorce papers I had filed just days before her due date. Her eyes darted over the documents, and for a second, she looked like she still did not understand. So, I spelled it out. I explained that I was sterile and had been since long before we started trying for a baby. There was no way the child could be mine. Then I told her about the secret email account and the messages I had found, the ones between her and the neighbor, including her plans to divorce me after the baby was born. The realization hit her like a truck. Her face shifted from confusion to horror, and I will admit, seeing her finally grasp the situation gave me a grim sense of satisfaction. The look on her face was priceless. Without saying much else, I turned and walked out of the room. My heart was pounding so hard I half expected to end up in the hospital myself. But I kept moving. I had no reason to stay any longer. On my way out, I did one last thing. I called the neighbor. As soon as he picked up, I told him, "She is in labor. You might want to head over to the hospital." Then I hung up without waiting for a response. I got in my car and drove to a quiet spot near the hospital, waiting for her parents to arrive. As soon as I saw her father's car pull into the parking lot, I started my engine and drove off. I had planned everything in advance. My bags were already packed and sitting in the trunk of my car. I had done that weeks ago, just in case I needed to make a quick getaway. I headed out of town and checked into a small motel, where I spent the rest of the day trying to distract myself. I cracked open a few beers, flipped through channels on the TV, and did my best to push the entire situation out of my mind. That night, I slept better than I had in months. I felt a strange sense of peace knowing that it was over. I had played my part, and now I was free. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. Unsurprisingly, I had dozens of messages from my wife and the neighbor, none of which I bothered to open. I did, however, check the messages from my family. My parents and brother had both reached out, clearly confused and upset about why I had disappeared during what they thought was the birth of my child. I figured it was time to set things straight. I called my parents and told them I was coming over. I asked them to have my brother there too because I wanted to explain everything in person. They deserved to know the truth. When I arrived at my parents' house, my brother was already waiting. Their faces were a mix of confusion and frustration, which made sense. They thought I had skipped out on one of the most important moments of my life. Little did they know, the truth was far worse than they could imagine. When I got to my parents' house, it was obvious they were upset not just because of my absence during what they believed was the birth of their grandchild, but because of the confusion surrounding the entire situation. Still, I sat them down and told them everything. Every single detail. I explained why I had done what I did and what had been happening behind the scenes. By the time I was finished, the room was silent. My dad, who rarely gets emotional, looked at me and simply said he hoped nothing worse would come of it. That was it. I had braced myself for questions, accusations, or even anger, but they just sat there, stunned. If my mom or brother had any comments, they kept them to themselves. For now, everything on that front seemed calm, even if I knew they were still processing what I had told them. That was a few days ago. Since then, my wife has been relentless. She has been calling and texting me nonstop, claiming I ruined her experience of becoming a mother. She is furious that I knew everything and still chose to stay with her throughout the pregnancy. In her mind, I was the one who had lied and misled her. The irony of it all is unbelievable. Even my neighbor, the guy she cheated on me with, had the audacity to text me. He said she was very upset and that I should set our differences aside for her sake. He even suggested we try to sort things out, claiming it would be the best thing for everyone involved. As if I owed her anything after everything she had done. The nerve of these people is astonishing. To make matters worse, he said something that really pushed me over the edge. He claimed that during the pregnancy, my wife had started falling back in love with me. He suggested that this was a sign I should give our marriage a second chance. What kind of fool does he take me for? If she was supposedly falling back in love with me, why was he still in the picture? I know manipulation when I see it, and this was as transparent as it gets. They are desperate to salvage whatever they can, especially since neither of them has any stable income. My wife says she is angry because I pretended to be supportive and let her believe I was unaware of her betrayal. She is outraged that I did not confront her sooner. But to me, her anger feels misplaced. She is not mad about what she did, she is mad that I found out and played along. Am I the bad guy for staying with her throughout her pregnancy, knowing the baby was not mine, and letting her believe everything was fine? Maybe. But given what she did, I do not feel any guilt. Underscore 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 underscore. Update 1. It has been almost a week since the baby was born. I am still staying at a hotel and have no plans to visit her or the baby. My phone has been blowing up with her calls and texts, but I have no interest in hearing what she has to say. I have already made myself clear. I have not blocked her yet, but I did block the neighbor. He had started texting me constantly, trying to convince me to get back with her. It is obvious he is doing this to make sure she can secure something out of the divorce, either alimony or a settlement. They are both unemployed, and without my support, they have nothing to fall back on. My wife used to work when we were dating, and I was proud of her for it. But after we got married, she chose to quit her job, saying she wanted to focus on being a homemaker. I respected that decision. I earned enough to support both of us, so I had no problem with her choice. But instead of being the supportive spouse I thought she would be, she spent her time betraying me. That is something I cannot forgive. Cheating is bad enough on its own, but to take advantage of my trust and use me as a financial safety net while sneaking around with someone else? That is beyond unacceptable. As far as I am concerned, there is no going back. She made her choices, and now she has to live with the consequences. I am optimistic that my lawyer will be able to get me out of paying alimony. The evidence of her cheating, those emails and photos I saved, should make that process straightforward. Proving her infidelity will hopefully be enough to shut down any claims she might make. As for her and the neighbor, I can only imagine how they are planning to survive. He is still struggling to book decent modeling gigs, and with a baby now in the mix, their financial situation is going to be dire. Handling his own bills, my wife's expenses, and raising a child will be next to impossible, even if they pool whatever little money they might have. Good luck to them. I am just relieved to be free of this mess. I refuse to give them anything, not even the satisfaction of my attention. I hope my wife comes to terms with that sooner rather than later and does not waste time contesting the divorce. Knowing her, though, she probably will. Thankfully, I am prepared. The screenshots of her emails are safely saved and backed up. Even if she deletes her secret account, it will not matter, I have all the proof I need. If things get ugly, I am ready to fight it out. And worst case scenario? If I am forced to pay alimony, so be it. At least I will be free of her for good. She should count herself lucky I have been gracious enough to let her vacate the house on her own terms. The house is under my name, and if I wanted, I could have her evicted immediately. But I am not going to stoop to her level. I just want this chapter to end. Underscore 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 underscore. Update 2. I knew it. My wife, in her infinite wisdom, has decided to negotiate the settlement because she was not happy with my initial offer. I offered her an amount that covered what she spent during the marriage, a sum that I still think was more than generous. But apparently, that was not enough for her. I have no idea what miracle she thinks will happen, but she can dream all she wants. She sent me a text yesterday saying she had moved out of the house. I felt a wave of relief and figured she had gone to live with her parents or somewhere else far away. Today, I went back home, finally feeling like I could reclaim my space. But when I got there, my relief turned to frustration. She had not gone far at all, she had moved across the street into the neighbor's house. Now I am stuck seeing their faces every single day. For a moment, I considered going back to the hotel, but then I reminded myself that this is my house. I refuse to let them chase me out of my own home. If anyone should feel uncomfortable, it is them, not me. The whole situation is baffling. Living with her boyfriend is bound to hurt her divorce case. She is only making things harder for herself. I could not figure out why she had not gone to live with her parents instead, but then I stumbled upon a message from her father that explained everything. It was a long text I had missed while ignoring my phone over the past few days. In it, her dad apologized for what his daughter had done. He said he and her mother were deeply disappointed in her behavior and that they had cut her off completely after she told them she was planning to contest the divorce. Reading his message hit me hard. For the first time in a while, I felt validated. It was a rare moment of emotional clarity. His words meant a lot to me, but I managed to hold back the tears that threatened to come. He made it clear they did not support her actions and would not stand by her decisions anymore. Knowing that her own parents had turned their backs on her gave me a sense of relief. At least someone else could see through her nonsense. That said, her recent choices still baffle me. Everything she is doing is counterproductive and will inevitably backfire. Surely, she has to realize that. But then again, maybe she is just not thinking clearly. Part of me worries that she might still have some twisted plan up her sleeve. I would not put it past her at this point. I hope I am wrong, but if there is one thing I have learned, it is to expect the unexpected when it comes to her. For now, I am just bracing myself for whatever comes next. Living across the street from my wife and her boyfriend has been uncomfortable, to say the least. I know they would love to provoke me, maybe try to make me jealous or get me to react emotionally. But I am not going to give them that satisfaction. Any kind of outburst from me could easily be used against me, so I have been careful to stay calm and not let them get under my skin. On the bright side, staying in my own house instead of a hotel has been a huge financial relief. I am saving a fortune just by being home, and no amount of petty behavior from them is going to drive me away. Underscore 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 underscore. Update 3. It has been a month since the divorce settlement negotiations started, and things have been going horribly for my wife. I was able to provide solid evidence of her cheating, and she only made it easier by moving in with the neighbor I had accused her of having an affair with. Her actions left no doubt about the validity of my claims. In an act of desperation, she tried to make up some false accusations against me. She claimed that I was an alcoholic and that my drinking was the reason for my sterility. She also said that I became cruel and bitter toward her when we were trying to conceive, and that pushed her into the arms of someone else. It was laughable. Everyone who knows me knows that I quit drinking entirely last year when we decided to try for a baby. I have not touched alcohol since. Disproving her accusations was simple. I am not sure why she thought those lies would work, they were weak and easily refuted. It was clear she was grasping at straws after her original plan to manipulate me had failed spectacularly. By now, both of us know the truth, the chances of her walking away with any alimony are next to zero. I suspect she must have shared this with her boyfriend because, a few days ago, the situation took a dramatic turn. I was sitting in my living room when I heard shouting coming from across the street. It was loud, angry, and unmistakably coming from the neighbor's house. I walked to my window and saw my wife being thrown out of the house, baby in her arms, while her boyfriend screamed at her. He was hurling insults and calling her every name in the book. I could not believe what I was seeing. The sight of her standing there with her baby, crying, while he slammed the door in her face hit me hard. Whatever had gone down between them, I could not just stand by. Whatever she had done to me, this innocent child did not deserve to suffer. I rushed out immediately, grabbed the baby from her arms, and led her back to my house. She was sobbing uncontrollably, and the baby was wailing too. Once inside, I called her father. He arrived within the hour to take her and the baby back to his house. Before leaving, he thanked me for stepping in and doing the right thing, even after everything that had happened. During the hour we waited, my wife was a complete mess. She cried like a child, apologizing over and over for everything she had done. She admitted that her desperation to be with the man she thought she loved had made her lose all sense of morality and self-respect. She told me she was done fighting. She said she would stop negotiating, accept whatever terms I wanted, and let the divorce go through as quickly as possible. For the first time in this entire ordeal, she seemed genuinely remorseful. I am not sure how much of it was genuine and how much of it was a reaction to being humiliated and abandoned by the neighbor. But either way, it was a relief to hear her say she would not drag this out any longer. I hope, for her sake, that she eventually decides to press charges against the neighbor for how he treated her. Maybe that would help her start to heal and move on. As for me, I do not regret anything I did. I know I made the right choices. At the end of the day, I was decent when it mattered most, and that is enough for me. Update 4. It has been a few weeks since the incident with my wife and her neighbor, and thankfully, things have quieted down. The divorce proceedings are finally moving forward without much resistance from her. I think she has come to terms with the fact that she is out of options. She has not tried to contact me since her father picked her up that day, and honestly, I am grateful for the silence. It is a relief not having to deal with her excuses or attempts to justify her actions anymore. The neighbor across the street has been silent as well. After the spectacle he caused, I am pretty sure he is lying low. Nobody in the neighborhood has much respect for him after what happened, and I doubt he is eager to draw any attention to himself. As for me, I am focusing on putting my life back together. It has not been easy, but I am taking it one day at a time. I have reconnected with old friends and started spending more time with my family, who have been a tremendous source of support throughout all of this. Work has been a saving grace. Throwing myself into projects has kept me busy and given me something productive to focus on. It feels good to be working towards something meaningful for myself rather than for a relationship built on lies and betrayal. I made the decision to stay in the house. Selling it and starting fresh elsewhere was tempting, but why should I be the one to leave? This is my home, and I refuse to let their actions dictate my life. To make the space feel more like my own, I have been making small changes, redecorating, rearranging furniture, and even starting a garden in the backyard. There is something therapeutic about transforming the house into a place that reflects who I am now. It is no longer a reminder of a failed marriage but a symbol of a fresh start. The divorce is expected to be finalized soon, and my lawyer has assured me that everything is going smoothly. My wife's lack of resistance has made the process surprisingly straightforward. I have no idea what her plans are or where she is staying now. Part of me hopes she is finding a way to move forward and make better decisions for herself and her child. But I cannot let myself dwell on her situation. It is not my responsibility anymore. This experience has taught me a lot. It has been one of the most painful periods of my life, but it has also been eye-opening. I learned the hard way how important it is to trust my instincts and set boundaries. I ignored too many red flags and gave too much benefit of the doubt, and I paid the price for it. From now on, I am determined to be more cautious and to prioritize my own peace of mind. This chapter of my life is finally closing, and while the future feels uncertain, it also feels full of possibilities. I am choosing to focus on healing, rediscovering who I am, and embracing the freedom that comes with letting go of the past. It has been a long, difficult road, but I am ready to move forward and see what life has to offer. Update 5. I thought the drama was finally behind me, but I was wrong. My soon-to-be ex-wife decided to make one last attempt to stir things up. A few days after my last update, I received an unexpected letter in the mail. At first, I thought it was something from the court or my lawyer, but no, it was from her. The letter was long, emotional, and full of apologies. She said she was sorry for everything, her affair, her attempts to manipulate me, and all the pain she caused. She claimed she had realized how wrong she was and begged for another chance to make things right. My first reaction was anger. After everything she had put me through, how could she think I would even consider taking her back? But as I read further, it became clear that her desperation wasn't just rooted in regret, it was rooted in survival. She admitted that her relationship with the neighbor had completely fallen apart. He had refused to support her or the baby, leaving her with nowhere to go. Her parents had already cut her off financially, and now she was struggling just to get by. The letter ended with her pleading for me to reconsider. She promised to do whatever it took to fix things and prove that she had changed. I didn't respond. I couldn't. This wasn't about forgiving a single mistake, it was about protecting myself from the consequences of her choices. The letter felt like an attempt to push the burden of her poor decisions onto me, and I wasn't going to let that happen. She made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. Underscore 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 underscore. Final update. The divorce is officially finalized, and I cannot express how relieved I am. It took longer than I expected, but in the end, everything worked out in my favor. The court ruled that I owed her nothing, not a single cent in alimony or child support. The evidence of her infidelity, combined with her decision to move in with the neighbor, left no room for doubt. I am finally free. Free from the lies, the betrayal, and the weight of a marriage that was never what I thought it was. Since the divorce was finalized, I have been taking active steps to rebuild my life. I started going to therapy to deal with the lingering feelings of hurt and betrayal. It is a slow process, but I am learning to trust again, especially learning to trust myself. My family has been my anchor throughout this journey. My parents, in particular, have been my unwavering source of strength. They have reminded me every step of the way that I deserve better and have encouraged me to look forward instead of dwelling on the past. As for my ex-wife, I have no idea where she is, and I prefer it that way. I have blocked her on every possible platform and asked my family to do the same. She no longer has any place in my life. Looking back, I see how much I lost because of her betrayal. But I also see how much I gained. This experience has made me stronger, clearer in my priorities, and more focused on building a life on my own terms. The future feels brighter now, and for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful. No more lies. No more manipulation. Just me, living life the way I want to. I hope that, one day, she decides to press charges against the neighbor for how he treated her. Regardless of everything that happened between us, no one deserves to be treated that way. Maybe taking that step would help her heal and start putting her life back together. But at the end of the day, I know I did everything I could. Despite the betrayal, I chose to be the bigger person when it mattered most. I do not regret anything.